We are on with David Mickey Evans, director, co-writer, and narrator of The Sandlot. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Nate?
Good. You're on the air with the Basement Show with Nate Miller on FishBowl Radio Network. It is a privilege to be talking to you, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm grateful you think so, and thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
No problem. I The Sandlot is one of my favorites. Let me just say that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad it is.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
I was prepping for this interview, and I thought, whatever questions I ask you, you've probably heard 100 times, but I'm just going to try and, try to make it interesting for you.
That's no worries whatsoever. I mean, I've interviewed about The Sandlot. I can't even begin to remember how many times, but it never gets old for me. I'm always very pleased and very grateful to talk about it. It's probably the favorite film I've ever made, and and it just seems to keep on going, generation to generation.
Right. Okay. So, did people ever tell you how old they were when that first came out?
All the time. Yeah. In fact, in 2013, for the 20th anniversary of The Sandlot, we went on a tour all over the United States, probably about a little over 30,000 miles in 8-9 months. And we went to like 26 Major League Baseball stadiums, minor league baseball stadiums, and showed the film for hundreds of thousands of fans. And all the time, people would say, when I was a kid, and that was my favorite movie, or moms and dads would say, I love that movie when I was a kid. Now my kids love that movie, and even grandparents would tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For the record, I was 7 years old when that came out.
Awesome. Well, I was 10 when I directed it. I'm joking.
I'm sure it felt like it. I'm sure it felt like it.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
So, you mentioned the tour. Did you actually come to Arlington, Texas, at the Rangers ballpark?
I did.
We
did. We did, and that was a really cool one because the Rangers, they limited it to, I think, if memory serves, 5,000 tickets or maybe 10,000 tickets.
Okay.
And what they did is they showed it there on an off day, so there was no baseball game there. The Rangers were away.
Okay.
But we all watched the movie, all these thousands of people, and I met all the fans. We did all that, and then they let everyone bring their sleeping bags and sleep over on the field.
Nice.
All night. It was cool. Very cool.
Nice. Good weather for that.
It was a perfect night.
The reason I ask that is because the studio that I'm doing the show from is right down the street from that ballpark. I'm actually looking at it right. I'm actually looking at it right
fantastic. Now. That was an absolutely beautiful ballpark.
Yeah.
And that's near where the Cowboys play as well, right?
Right next to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that thing is massive in itself.
Yeah, that's. I never see anything like that.
No, I keep waiting. I keep waiting for it to fly away. It looks like a giant flying saucer.
It does. It looks very space age. Yeah.
Awesome. Let me ask you this: What's the quote that you hear the most from the Sandlot?
There's three.
Okay.
So probably the one that's the most famous is "You're Killing Me Small."
Yeah.
That's sort of world famous, and somebody tried to figure that out once. In modern history, it's one, if not the number one of like the three most often quoted lines from a movie in history.
Okay.
And then there's Heroes Get Remembered and
Legends
Never Die.
Legends Never Die.
And then the other one is from when Squints is telling the story of the beast, and he says "forever."
Yeah.
And you can see those on T-shirts all over the world.
Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you about Chauncey Leopardi. You had a great time directing him, especially in the lifeguard scene.
Yeah.
I gather. Can you tell us a little bit about that day?
Oh, sure. First of all, Chauncey. I mean, I'm friendly with all the guys from the Sandlot to this day, and they're all really good guys. Chauncey plays, obviously, a little bit of a nerd, kind of a goof in that movie.
Yeah.
And I think he was like 12 or 13 at the time, and he was entirely different than his character.
Yeah.
Very, very suave little guy, dressed to the nines, a ladies' man. He was completely opposite of his character, so he did a tremendous job playing Squints.
Yep.
And obviously, he knew that was going to be the big scene for him in the movie. And he actually, from almost the first day, he was Mr. Evans, Dave, who's going to play Wendy? Who's going to play Wendy? And I would never tell him.
Good.
And so, his anxiety level by the time we got to the day we were going to shoot that scene, took about 3 days at that pool in very, very cold weather, by the way.
It looked cold.
Tangent. Yeah. It's supposed to be the middle of summer, and for some reason it was like 50-something degrees those days. And you can tell because when you look at Squints when they're in the pool, his teeth are actually chattering.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so eventually it got to the day, and I said, we're going to do it today. And then I finally introduced him to the actress Marley Shelton, who played Wendy. And, of course, she's a terribly beautiful lady, and she was 18, 19 years old at the time, just an absolutely, how shall I say this, just this iconographic, beautiful blonde girl.
Right.
Terrific actress as well. And he, his jaw dropped. And he got really scared. And but he was trying to cover it up, So we shoot everything except, then we leave the kiss till the end. And I took him aside right before we were going to do it to a corner of that deck of the pool. And I took a knee and I said, now listen, pal, here's the deal. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he's very, very nervous.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to give you a really, really important piece of directing. Okay, all right. He's getting very serious. He's ready to hear it. I said, so when we do this kiss, here's my advice.
Okay.
Keep your tongue in your mouth. Okay. And he looked at me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Of course.
Right.
So we do it, and it's great. It's absolutely perfect in the first take, and the entire crew is just busting up laughing.
And he asked for another take.
Oh, you bet he did. Yes, right. He was like, can you think maybe we could take number 2? So I think I asked Marley, and she said sure. So we gave him one more take. It was his big day.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, my mom's flipping out right now. That's her favorite scene in the movie.
Well, say hi to Mom for me.
Oh, I will. This is insane. Like, your voice sounds exactly like it did in the movie. I can't believe
I
I'm
love you, Nate. I'm putting you in my will now.
Awesome.
Okay?
Awesome. That's another thing I wanted to ask you. How long did the voiceover process take?
That's a good question. The actor that played the adult Scotty Smalls in The Sandlot is a great actor, a terrific guy named Arliss Howard. He's been in, I can't even count how many great films
he was the Red Sox owner in Moneyball.
I believe he was, and also he was in one of the Jurassic Park movies, and he's been all over the place. Terrific actor, but he's I can't remember exactly. He might have been George or something. He's a Southern guy.
Uh-huh.
Who has a bit of a Southern drawl, and which is no big deal while we were shooting the scenes in Dodger Stadium and all that. But when we got to the recording booth to record the stuff, I says, hey man, I think we got to pull back on some of that Southern accent and blah blah blah. And it just didn't work, and it was amicable. And he says, I just don't think I'm going to be able to give you what you want. I think his quote was, I sort of brought a clarinet to this party. If you need a trumpet, I can't do it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, all right, I get it. So we sort of shut down for lunch or whatever, and he took off, and I didn't know what to do.
Right.
My editor, the great Mike Stevenson, turned to me and says, you do it. And I said, do what? He says, you do the narration.
Yeah.
You know it. You wrote it, blah, blah, blah. I says, all right. So let me take a crack at it. And I knew it so well.
Yeah.
That I went into the booth and we ran the film, and I did it almost all of it on the fly, one take as the film ran.
Wow, that's impressive.
So it was a good day that day.
Yeah, that impresses me because, like, to promote this interview with you, I actually did your speech right after Squints does the kiss. We got banned from the pool forever that day. I actually took a video of myself, and I did that speech, and it took me 12 takes. It took me 12 takes. I'm like, I am jealous of you right now, sir.
That is not so bad, Nate. That's pretty good.
But still, and I was pressed for time, too. I had like 15 minutes to do it. because I actually had to get in here and prep my stuff for you. So, but at the same time, I wanted to, promote the show. I'm big on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff.
Sure.
So I thought, that would be really clever to do that. And that's actually one of my favorite bits in the movie, like you doing that monologue. So.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do because there's a ton of emotion underneath what the narrator's saying there.
Mm-hmm.
But you should send me that file of you doing that, and I'll throw that up all over my Facebook stuff.
Really?
And,
that's awesome. That is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just have to figure out how to save it. So it's on my Facebook. I sent you a friend request. I don't know if you got it or not, but
I don't know. I'll check after this interview, but
okay.
Yeah, but definitely I'll
get it to you. I'll get it to you one way or the other. So
okay, cool, very cool.
But yeah, I sent you that request like weeks ago. No problem.
Well, you know what? I don't check that very often.
Okay.
But usually I see them. Maybe.
Yep.
Did you send it to my fan page, which is different than my personal page? Maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
Okay. No, I actually found your personal page too. I'm on your fan page, but I found your personal page too.
All right, I'll go check for sure.
Sweet. Another question I had for you was it absolute pandemonium when James Earl Jones was on the set?
Well, it wasn't pandemonium. I'll tell you. I remember how I got Mr. Jones to be in the movie. My assistant director on that film was the great Bill Elvin. He went on to become a very, very successful producer and whatnot, but he was one of the greatest ADs I've ever worked with. And he, I believe, AD'd, what's the Costner movie?
Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams, which was a year or two before The Sandlot, I believe, and he was friendly with Mr. Jones, and we had not cast Mr. Myrtle.
Okay.
During the first week of the show or whatever, and we were sort of just throwing out names, and he says, what about, James Earl Jones? And the Mr. Myrtle, when I wrote the thing, I didn't write him as any specific ethnicity or anything like that.
Right.
And I had never considered someone like James Earl Jones because it never entered my mind because not in a million years did I ever think, at 27 years old,
yeah,
doing this little movie that I would be able to get anybody of his stature to do the picture. And Bill said, no, let me call him. So he calls him, and I was on the phone with him, and a couple hours later, and we had a quick conversation. I rewrote some stuff per Mr. Jones' suggestions, and maybe a week later he showed up on the set, and all the young guys were, couldn't wait to meet him. This is Darth Vader. This is James Earl Jones, And they were not. It wasn't such pandemonium as when he strode onto stage, and he has an enormous charisma and just this massive personal presence. He's a commanding human being.
Yep.
And he can be intimidating unless you get to know him.
Yeah.
And
I imagine
when they were going to meet him, their jaws were just at their ankles. They just couldn't believe he was standing there. And Bill was meeting him, saying hi again, hugging it out, and all that. And I was standing aside waiting for Bill to introduce me, and he does. And, actually, Mr. Jones goes, Bill, where's the director? And I said, well, I kind of raised my hand. Mr. Jones, I'm Dave Evans, I'm the director. And he laughed, and he says, no. And he turns to Bill and says, really, where's the director? Apparently, I looked a little too young.
Yeah, 27, so...
Yeah, it was great.
And to think that, James Earl Jones only got paid $7,000 when he first took on Darth Vader. So
really? I didn't know that.
In A New Hope, he only got paid $7,000. So,
wow. Wow.
Well, that's right.
If that was me, I'd be making a call to Mr. Lucas.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it later, raised, but still.
Yeah.
So awesome. And that was I just bumped the table.
No worries.
That was the first film that I ever saw Art LaFleur in as the Babe. What was he like?
Artie is a close and dear friend of mine. That was the first picture we did together, and I met him, believe it or not, through another mutual friend who's one of my closest writer friends.
Okay.
very small cadre of writer-director friends that I have in my little circle. And I've met Vince McEwen, a great writer. And Vinny and Art had been friends for years before I became friendly with Vince. And when I went to do the picture, he says, "Man, you gotta talk to Art about doing this, you know." So I got together through him and talked to Artie, and then I met Artie, and I went, "Oh my God, he is the babe," you know. And Artie, it was literally one of his lifelong dreams as an actor to somehow in some movie play Babe Ruth. It really was.
Okay.
So I said, "It's yours, you know, knock it out of the park," and he did. And I mean, Artie's been in probably 2.5 million movies.
Yep. He was in another one of yours, First Kid.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, he played the Secret Service director, and he was actually in another one, Ace Ventura Jr. that I did in Florida in 2007. He knocked that one out of the park. Artie's he's just one of the nicest, most gracious and genuine men you'll ever meet, and a great actor.
Yeah,
so
very good
that's
actor.
how that came about. You know, he's a great guy.
Very nice. A while back I saw a picture of him and Mike Vitar played Benny the Jet. So I thought that was really cool. So
yeah, awesome. Mike's a great guy. I believe Mike these days is an LA fireman.
Really?
Yeah, he was a hero in the movies, and now he's a real life hero.
Oh, you know? How did he feel about being chased by the Beast?
Oh, he loved it.
He loved it?
I mean, yeah, listen, I mean, Mike was, without question, the most capable athlete of all the kids. They were all quite decent. They could play ball and all that. But Mike was sort of a one-off. You know, I mean, if he wanted to, he literally could have become, a pro ball player.
Yeah.
He was that good. Okay. Just a natural athlete and fast, very, very fast, just like the character was supposed to be. And listen, that chase scene is many, many, many different cuts and many, many different small pieces and all that. So there wasn't really any instance where he had to run, 10 miles being chased by the dog. And the other thing was, look, we shot this entire thing in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the middle of summer, and it was sometimes 112 degrees outside.
Wow.
And the dogs that we had were English Mastiffs, and the Beast was played by, if memory serves, four or five real English Mastiffs. All looked really similar, but all of them had different abilities. One was a female that wasn't quite so large, but that could run very fast because English Mastiffs do not like to run. And then we had another one that's the one that licks Scotty's face after all the boys pull the fence off him, or at least Scotty and Benny do. That was a very, very large. He was over 200 pounds, but he had a huge head, very photogenic, big head, as you can see. And so he was the close-up dog, and then other ones for other stuff, and then two or three animatronic puppets. Right. Obviously. Mike just, turned it on anytime we had to do it. I mean, I think the longest he ever had to run was when he's running down the alley and throwing all the trash cans and stuff in front of the Beast to try to make them stop. And then when he comes back onto the Sandlot from around the back stop and he has to run to the fence. Sure. He did all of that all the way until he got to the fence, and then the great Jack West, one of the best stunt guys you've ever worked with. He took over. Jack was a former professional gymnast and stuff, and about the same size as Mike, except probably about 1,000 times as strong. And he's the one that did the great jump from the top of the fence. I mean, he got about 15, 16 feet in the air and hit the ground, and we had to I don't think he blacked out, but he definitely got the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. And I knew Mike was a good athlete because he would go on to be in 2 out of the 3 Mighty Ducks movies.
Yep. Well, look, in the movie, in The Sandlot, anytime you see Benny hitting a ball,
he hit the ball.
You can see that kid swing. He has a natural, like Major League Baseball natural swing. And he actually, it was one of the things that helped me out the most is, we'd pitch a ball to that guy. He's a pitching machine, and he'd hit it every time.
Yeah, you really didn't have to teach him anything.
No, and it would be a couple of takes. That's it. We didn't have to shoot it 30 times for him to hit a home run.
Yeah,
he would just unleash, and knock it dead.
Right. Aside from the lifeguard scene, which one was the funnest scene to shoot?
Oh boy. Well, the carnival scene was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to move very quickly because that was at night, and all those young actors have they have to be done at a certain time because of labor laws and stuff. But that was a lot of fun because they all got to let their inner over actors out when they were on that roller coaster. Yeah. So that was very cool. And then the chase through the Founders Day parade in the park when they run across the picnic tables and stuff. That was a lot of fun.
Right.
But really, Nate, every single day and every single scene was absolutely, a laugh riot. When they are trying to retrieve the ball, that whole section of the movie, and when the treehouse, the vacuum cleaners blow up. Oh boy, that was a ton of fun. And when they put him in that rig and lower him over into the other backyard, that was a ton of fun. So the whole movie was a ton of fun.
Yeah, that movie made me want to buy erector sets for like the next 10 years.
That's awesome. I know, right? It's like all you hear about these days is Kinect and Legos.
Yeah.
What happened to erector sets? They were great.
And that was back when erector sets were still cool,
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. I mean, I had a few of those sets when I was a kid, and if I had those now in pristine condition, shoot, eBay, you're a millionaire.
Yep. And I made so many catapults with those things too.
Yep. That's why it's in the movie. I did the same thing. That's one of those things we all did when we were kids. Building that stuff. The catapult was great. I mean, you had to build one.
And Squints basically screaming his head off. Great times.
Oh yeah, that was listen. That was there was one of the things in the casting process. I'd say, all right, now you're terrified, scream, and then they would. And if they had really good screamability, that was a big plus.
Were any of them shy?
Oh goodness, not really. No.
Okay.
No, I don't think they were shy. They were all very. We tried to make the set very, very comfortable for them, and
good.
Just let them. I mean, look, when you work with young guys like that, young actors, you don't want them to act.
Right.
You just want them to. You try to cast the characters that you're written around the abilities of those young actors. I made plenty of adjustments for each of them to befit their own personalities and the way they were, and their little, their abilities. And so they played themselves mostly, but they were all very, very cool. Nobody had any fear of the camera or anything.
Right
like
on,
that.
right on. Last question: what was Dennis Leary like?
He is one of the smartest, sharpest, fastest minds I've ever met. He really is. I got to tell you, if you've seen his stand-up, that's him, man. That guy, he's got a mind that works like 1,000 miles an hour.
Right on.
I'm pretty sure that was his first role in a movie.
It was the first thing I saw him in, yeah.
I think so, because the producer of the film, who remains a friend to this day, Mark Berg, knew him. And that was another role that I didn't have an actor to be in, and I didn't know who to cast. And Mark suggested Dennis, and we chatted on the phone and got along really well. And he came out, and I think he was only there for a week or so.
Okay.
But he knocked it dead. He really did. It was really, really obvious that. And clearly, he was a brilliant comic, but it was really obvious just on day one that guy was going to have a huge career in motion pictures and television. There's no question about it.
And he has.
Yeah,
he really has.
No kidding.
So, well, I need to let you go, but thank you so much for taking some time with me. So.
Nate, I really appreciate you reaching out, and thank you for inviting me on your show, and I hope it goes well. And, anything else you need, dude, I'm just a Facebook message away, sir.
Sweet. And I'll send you that video. And
yeah, please do, man. I'll put it up.
Right, and we hope to have you on again soon. All right. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You just let me know. Thanks, Nate.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
David Mickey.